So let me be clear. The change that is taking place across the region is being driven by the people of the region. This change doesn't represent the work of the United States or any foreign power. It represents the aspirations of people who are seeking a better life. As one Libyan said, we just want to be able to live like human beings. We just want to be able to live like human beings. It is the most basic of aspirations that is driving this change. And throughout this time of transition, the United States will continue to stand up for freedom. Stand up for justice, and stand up for the dignity of all people. Thank you very much. Barack Obama. Abraham Lincoln, Washington, D. See Bicentennial Address. Delivered February 12, 2009, Lincoln Memorial, Washington, D. C. Thank you. Please, be seated. Thank you, very much. Madam Speaker, Leader Reid, members of Congress, dear friends, former colleagues. It is a great honor to be here, a place where Lincoln served. Was inaugurated, and where the nation he saved bid him a last farewell. As we mark the bicentennial of our 16th president's birth, I cannot claim to know as much about his life. And works as many who are also speaking today, but I can say that I feel a special gratitude to the singular. Figure who in so many ways made my own story possible and in so many ways made America's story possible. It is fitting that we are holding this celebration here at the Capitol. For the life of this building is bound ever so closely to the times of this immortal president. Built by artisans and craftsmen, but also immigrants and slaves, it was here, in the rotunda. That Union soldiers received help from a makeshift hospital. It was downstairs, in the basement, that they were baked bread to give them strength. And it was in the Senate and House chambers where they slept at night and spent some of their days. What those soldiers saw when they looked on this building was a very different sight than the one we see today. For it remained unfinished until the end of the war. The laborers who built the dome came to work wondering each day whether that would be their last. Whether the metal they were using for its frame would be requisitioned for the war and melted down into bullets. But each day went by without any orders to halt construction, and so they kept on working, and kept on building. And when President Lincoln was finally told of all the metal being used here, his response was short and clear, "That is as it should be." The American people needed to be reminded, he believed, that even in a time of war, the work would go on. The people's business would continue, that even when the nation itself was in doubt, its future was being secured. And that on that distant day, when the guns fell silent, a national capital would stand. With the Statue of Freedom at its peak, as a symbol of unity in a land still mending its divisions. It is this sense of unity, this ability to plan for a shared future even At a moment where our nation was torn apart, that I reflect on today. And while there are any number of moments that reveal that particular side of this extraordinary man, Abraham Lincoln, that particular aspect of his leadership, there's one that I'd like to share with you today. In the war's final weeks, aboard Grant's flagship, the River Queen, President Lincoln was asked what was to be done with the rebel armies once General Lee surrendered. With victory at hand, Lincoln could have sought revenge. He could have forced the South to pay a steep price for their rebellion. But despite all the bloodshed and all the misery that each side had exacted upon the other, and despite his absolute certainty in the rightness of the cause of ending slavery, no Confederate soldier was to be punished, Lincoln ordered. They were to be treated, as he put it, liberally all round. What Lincoln wanted was for Confederate troops to go back. Home and return to work on their farms and in their shops. He was even willing, he said, to let them have their horses to plow and their guns to shoot crows with. That was the only way, Lincoln knew, to repair the rifts that had torn this country apart. It was the only way to begin the healing that our nation so desperately needed. What Lincoln never forgot, not even in the midst of civil war, was that despite all that divides us North and South, black and white, we were, at heart, one nation and one people, sharing a bond as Americans that could bend but would not break. And so even as we meet here today, in a moment when we are far less divided than in Lincoln's day, but when we are once again debating the critical issues of our time and debating them sometimes fiercely, let us remember that we are doing so as servants of the same flag. As representatives of the same people, and as stakeholders in a common future. That is the most fitting tribute we can pay, the most lasting. Monument we can build to that most remarkable of men, Abraham Lincoln. Thank you. Barack Obama. Pre-inauguration address at the Lincoln Memorial. Delivered January 18, 2008, Washington, D. C. Hello America. I want to thank all the speakers and performers today for reminding us. Through song and through words, just what it is that we love about America. I want to thank all of you for braving the cold and the crowds and traveling in some cases thousands of miles to join us here today. Welcome to Washington, and welcome to the celebration of American renewal. In the course of our history, only a handful of generations have been asked to confront challenges as serious as the ones we face right now. Our nation is at war. Our economy is in crisis. Millions of Americans are losing their jobs and their homes. They're worried about how they'll afford college for their kids or pay the stack of bills on their kitchen table. And most of all, they're anxious and uncertain about the future, about whether this generation of Americans will be able to pass on what's best about this country to our children and their children. I won't pretend that meeting any one of these challenges will be easy. It will take more than a month or a year, and it will likely take many. Along the way there will be setbacks and false starts and days that test our resolve as a nation. But despite all this, despite the enormity of the task that lies ahead, I stand here today as hopeful as ever that the United States of America will endure. That it will prevail, that the dream of our founders will live on in our time. What gives me hope is what I see when I look out across this mall. For in these monuments are chiseled those unlikely stories that affirm our unyielding faith, of faith that anything is possible in America. Rising before us stands a memorial to a man who led a small band of farmers and shopkeepers in revolution against the army of an empire, all for the sake of an idea. On the ground below is a tribute to a generation that withstood war and depression, men and women like my grandparents who toiled on bomber assembly lines and marched across Europe to free the world from tyranny's grasp. Directly in front of us is a pool that still reflects the dream of a king. And the glory of a people who marched and bled so that their children might be judged by their character's content. And behind me, watching over the Union he saved, sits the man who in so many ways made this day possible. And yet, as I stand here today, what gives me the greatest hope of all is not the stone and marble that surrounds us, but what fills the spaces in between. It is you Americans of every race and region and station who came here because You believe in what this country can be, and because you want to help us get there. It's the same thing that gave me hope from the day we began this campaign for the presidency nearly 2 years ago. A belief that if we could just recognize ourselves in one another and bring everyone together, Democrats, Republicans, Independents, Latino, Asian and Native American, Black and white, gay and straight, disabled, and then not only would we restore hope and opportunity in places that yearned for both, but maybe, just maybe, we might perfect our union in the process. This is what I believed, but you made this belief real. You proved once more that people who love this country can change it. And as I prepare to assume the presidency, yours are the voices I will take with me every day when I walk. Into that Oval Office, the voices of men and women who have different stories but hold common hopes. Who ask only for what was promised us as Americans, that we might make of our lives what we will and see are. Children climb higher than we did. It is this thread that binds us together in common effort, that runs through every memorial on this mall, that connects us to all those who struggled and sacrificed and stood here before. It is how this nation has overcome the greatest differences and the longest odds, because there is no obstacle that can stand in the way of millions of voices calling for change. That is the belief with which we began this campaign, and that is how we will overcome what ails us now.